So it's been some time since I have reviewed a Retina tablet. Normally I'm looking at the more budget-orientated Chinese dual boots. This here is the ASUS Zenpad 3S10. So the screen used is a very familiar one, the 9.7-inch 4:3 aspect ratio Retina screen, which has a resolution of 1536 by 2048 and 264 ppi. So very hard to see pixels on this. You have to look at it really close. Now it has a hexa-core CPU, which is the MediaTek 8176. 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of internal storage, which can be expanded upon with the micro SD card slot. It also has GPS, something we don't see a lot of in tablets, 5,900 mAh battery, and Type-C port on the bottom. So to quickly walk you around the device, on the front here we have a 5 megapixel camera ambient light sensor. What is missing is a status LED. Oddly enough, ASUS didn't actually include one. Left hand side you'll see the micro SD card slot. Now that will support up to 128 gigabytes. I can confirm this. I tested out my Samsung Pro Plus card and that worked fine without any problems. On the right side, volume up and down power buttons. Now these are made out of metal and have a very nice feel to them. And along the top we have a 3.5mm audio jack which supports microphones. Now this part along here is plastic and that is for the reception of the GPS antenna, wireless and Bluetooth. You also see a small little dot there. That's where the single microphone is located. Along the bottom, dual downwards firing speakers, a couple of torque screws that hold the rear metal housing in, and the Type-C port that does support Qualcomm's Quick Charge 3.0, although it does not include in the box a charger that with that spec. You only have a standard charger, which is a shame. So if you want to charge it a lot quicker, you need to go and buy yourself a Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0 charger. And lastly on the back we have a unibody metal design which feels very premium, very solid with nice chamfered edges. They're apparently diamond cut and an 8 megapixel camera. So the build quality is very premium. It is well put together. There's no flex or creaks in the design at all. Metal volume up and down buttons there feel very nice, and the unibody rear housing gives it a very quality feel to it. Now the thickness of it, ASUS claim, is meant to be 5.8 millimeters. But in my unboxing, you'll see that I got more like 6.5 millimeters. So I'm not too sure where they got that figure from, but it does only weigh 430 grams, which is very light indeed and very manageable, easy just to pick it up and slip into a backpack. The screen on it, being a Retina screen, offers very nice blacks, good colors on there, good color reproduction. I'm very happy with the quality of the screen. Now the maximum brightness goes all the way up to 480 lumens of brightness, which is very good. So very bright when you need it. And one thing I've noticed that the ambient light sensor, when you set that onto auto mode, is I simply just need to tick that box there from the toggles, that it does a really good job. And it's one of the few ambient light sensors that gets the brightness right. For me personally, I find a lot of them don't. It's either too dark, it's too light. This one, ASUS here, they have customized and tweaked that ambient light sensor. And I would say it's pretty much spot on and one of the best I have used. So if you're finding the colors here, reproduction is quite good, but I have noticed that the whites may be leaning a little bit towards the cool white, but you can actually change that. If you go into the ASUS Splendid application, then you can just tweak that. So if you find that the whites are too cool, then you can increase that to a warmer white. You also have a balance mode, which is what it comes with by default, and I leave it normally in balanced, or you can put it into vivid, so more saturated colors, and it looks more like a Samsung AMOLED panel, the same kind of panel that you'll find in the Samsung Galaxy Tab S2 there. So you can tweak and customize that to your liking. So very decent panel, and I'm really happy with it. So here in direct sunlight, I can make out what is on the screen, but it is very reflective, which makes it quite difficult to use. One of the best features of this tablet that it has an active stylus. Now this active stylus, it takes a quad A battery. Now those are expensive batteries, but it does come with one included in the box, which is it's something you definitely want. You don't have to buy one of those extra. Now the battery life apparently is supposed to last for 150 hours, which is a very long time. So we have a couple of buttons on here. It does support palm rejection. So palm rejection works as soon as the stylus is detected, just hovering above there. It does have a hover feature. And now my finger will not actually do anything. So I've got a couple of apps here. I wanted to test that, whether I could actually just write some text on there. Now I did a quick test with my unboxing video and it seemed quite good. But I'm just going to go into a tiny little bit more detail here. So one of the apps that they do have that comes with it is Supernote. Now Supernote is quite handy. That supports the pressure sensitivity. So I'm just going to quickly go into a new page here and show you again that if you select a tool that does support the pressure sensitivity, something like the paintbrush, that's one that definitely does. So if I just sketch very lightly, you can see that's tiny. The more pressure I apply, the thicker that is getting, and that actually works just fine. Now there's a little bit of input lag. In this particular application, it's not bad at all. So you go through with I'm just going to get rid of that, some of that there, and show you that other tools, you've got a whole range of options there. Now a lot of people use other applications. So now I'll see if I can write a few notes down and see how that is going to come out. So for that, I'm going to change over to another application. I'm just going to try out bamboo paper. Now this is an application that someone recommended that I try. So I did a little test here. I'm going to get rid of that. That was my old test. You see that at the moment that's very quick there, just getting rid of all the text there. So now I'll move over. I'll just get the orientation of this. Actually, no, put it around the other way. Now let's have a look and see if I can just write something that is not going to cause any problems with the palm rejection. So it's either going to work properly or not. So as soon as my palm's here, okay, so that didn't work too bad, but we did notice that right here, that showed up there from my palm, and that was probably the moment when I was lifting the stylus tip away from the screen is when that happened there. But you can, once you get accustomed to it, it takes a little bit of practice, you can write notes on this, I found quite well. Now the stylus isn't as good as the N-Trig stylus that I have used on my Microsoft Surface Pro 4. That I feel is a step up, and also the Wacom styluses are better, but I have to rate this as quite a decent stylus, that it's really not bad at all. Now it has a plastic tip on it, it's not rubber, so it doesn't quite have a good of feeling like the Note 5 that I had. So do one more test. You have to excuse my horrible writing and scribble here. One more test. Okay, so that worked okay there, but again, that was just me touching. So you really have to practice a little bit and just make sure you get the stylus tip down first before your palm touches the screen. Now, some of these applications, I'm not too sure if this one does have it, allow you to actually disable touch input. So you can't use touch to write. And that is probably the best thing to do. If you've got an application that supports that, then you'll have no problems writing and filling out a whole page there. So as mentioned, it does support fingerprint security, which is something you don't see a lot of tablets with this. Now there's only a few out there that have that. It's not a real common feature, especially with the tablets I normally review, which are more budget orientated. They're a lot cheaper than this one. So the way it works is you still have to wake the tablet first, but you can do it in one motion. And I found that it really does work flawlessly. It is very quick. You see that reaction there. The reaction time between the screen, my finger being red, and the screen coming on is very quick. Now, how you do it in one motion is just to press down all in one go, and it will press read and unlock. So speaker-wise, it has two downward firing speakers, and then it has the 3.5mm headphone jack at the top. Now, I'm going to test out the speakers, but I just wanted to comment first on the 3.5mm output. I found it to be excellent. I was really surprised about the quality. It's perhaps the best I have heard on a tablet. It is really good. The only thing I could say that maybe it just lacks a little bit more volume to it. So you're going to be driving like a large headset, then you might find that it falls short a little bit in the volume department. But it does have Audio Master on there. It's got some software on there to allow you to tweak the equalization there. It's DTS. And yeah, the output is really good. So let's have a listen now to just how those two downward firing speakers sound. I'll play a quick soundtrack here from Carbon-Based Lifeforms. So hopefully you could hear from that they do sound quite good, and they are very loud, and they definitely blow my Chinese tablet completely out of the water there. This tablet here is the Teclas X98 Air 3, and those speakers are quite hopeless. They just have no volume to them, whereas the Zenpad 3S10 here is just 20 times louder and better quality as well. So just to quickly cover the ROM, so it is running Android 6.0 out of the box. I don't know whether this will get the update to Android 7.0. ASUS in the past have been very bad at updating their tablets to the latest Android versions. So it's something we're just going to have to wait and see, unfortunately. But performance of it is really quite good. One thing I was not happy with it, you would have seen in my unboxing video, if you have seen that, was the amount of preloaded crapware that ASUS have crammed on there. I found that to be really unacceptable. There is literally 10 applications I would consider as bloat that I didn't like, and the moment I connected up to the internet, it forced upon me another 6 applications that were downloaded. So the UI they have used is what's called Zen UI, and it's their own custom UI. In general, it is quick and snappy. I've noticed that when you do multitask quite heavily, that it will start to sometimes get a few little stutters there. Now that is something you literally get on most devices as well. So I'm just going to quickly go through and launch a few things here. That it can bog down a little bit. But overall, the 6 cores, the MediaTek cores they've got on there, are handling things very well. And I haven't really noticed anything that I would call troubling. The performance of it really is quite good. So I'm just going to quickly show you now multitasking here. Let's go back into that's File Manager, looking at some images that I just showed you before off the screen. Play books. Go back into the settings. So it is really quite quick and snappy, and RAM management seems to be quite good. You get about 2.2 gigabytes free on first boot. And you see the toggles here, they are quite ugly, quite large. It's something you've got to get used to. And they've got a few little tweaks in here when it comes to things like their auto start manager. Power and boost, what that does is just clear all the memory, helps keep things running fast. And I don't really know whether that is needed, because Android also has its own task manager, and it should go through and clean things out of memory. And when it comes to multitasking, it is a little bit aggressive in getting rid of applications. So if you're someone that multitasks a lot and you want to go back, for example, to PC Mark, I don't even think that's actually loaded up. What will happen is, see, there's a bit of a delay then. What will happen is it will actually have to reload the application. I've noticed after about 10 minutes that it will just go through and kill applications. Now you can stop that from happening by locking certain apps. So if you pin them, there's an option here to pin certain apps, screen pinning. And so you can stop that from happening, and you will make sure the app is always going to be there for you. But in general, yeah, performance I find is perfectly acceptable for this type of device. The price range, 4 gigabytes of RAM, is ample there. One area I did notice that it does definitely lag and bogs down, and that is the YouTube application. Right now it's very fast. It's loading and everything just fine. And I'll load in a video here of, well, I'll just go into, well, the Zenpad, why not? And you'll see that this is working fine. Now I have the setting set at the moment, I think it's 720p, but as soon as you change that, so I'm going to go full screen here. That's fluid, that is smooth. Now watch what happens when I decide, oh, I don't want 720p. I want something that suits the screen resolution a little better. So I want to go 1440p. There we go. You see what's happening? It's becoming very choppy now. And if you decide to get out of this, okay, I want to minimize this, go back. Now look at this lag. It's just unresponsive. What is happening there? So that is something going on with, I don't know whether it's the CPU or it's actually the YouTube application is causing this horrendous choppiness and lag. I've got to kill that video. And even now the application now has become unresponsive and extremely slow. So this only happens when you put it on 1440p. So I've got to get out of there now. I've just got to completely kill all those tasks, and everything now is back to normal. But if I keep that running in the back there in the background, and it's going to completely just bog down, lag the whole system out until I close that YouTube app. It literally consumes all of the CPU. So here's a front-facing camera sample. So it's got a 5 megapixel front camera and an 8 megapixel rear camera, and the quality of both of them I found to be pretty average. You can see that it's a little bit blocky, it's pixelated, there's just too much compression. So I wouldn't be buying this tablet at all for its video quality. Just to give you a quick sample here from the rear camera, which can shoot up to 1080p. But if you try to enable, or if you do enable image stabilization, then that will chop the resolution down to only 720p. And you can see the quality of it is really quite grainy, it's blurry, it's shaky. It is not good at all. Your mobile phone will definitely take a better quality than this right here. So I do like to run synthetic benchmarks and do a few tests on these tablets when it comes to things like the wireless speeds and performance. So I'm just going to quickly run through those. Now, there were a couple of firmware updates that were pushed out via the over-the-air update system from ASUS, and there were 2 of them that I installed. Now, here is the Geekbench 4 score, which is, I mean, this is an okay score for a hexa-core 6-core tablet. And the Antutu score, now this is faster than the Exynos Samsung Galaxy Tab S2. This one is, and then later on they have the Snapdragon 650, and Snapdragon 650 performs about the same, gets about the same Antutu score there. That's Antutu 6.2.1, by the way. So the 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited score, Slingshot. Now the internal storage, I benchmarked that as well. So a read of 112 megabytes per second and a write of 130 isn't too bad, but this is eMMC 4.5 spec that doesn't have UFS 2.0 storage, unfortunately. And the wireless speeds here too, quite good. Now the range of the wireless, I was doing some testing on that as well, which I'll show you. I found that this was when I was on the same level as my wireless router. Very good reception. Moving downstairs, that drops down, but the speeds were still quite good, you can see. Actually got a faster upload for some reason. But due to the fact that it does have the plastic along the top here, the wireless range and performance is really good. Now, I did a battery life test here. This is a PC Mark's battery life work score. So 7 hours and 3 minutes, not bad. And the work performance score there was 5,481 if you want to compare that to your own or existing tablet. There's more details there. And that was a screen on time of 6 hours and 3 minutes. Now, this was with the display configured to 200 lumens of brightness as they suggested. You see the battery use there, the screen, and PC Mark. So I thought that was quite a good score there. Now, that was on the power saving mode. Well, not the power saving mode, just the normal mode. You do have performance or power saving. So I just kept things on normal. So the tablet supports Quick Charge 3, but you don't get one included. So you really have to invest in one of these. And this is an official certified Qualcomm Quick Charge 3 charger. And with this, I can fully charge the tablet in just under 2 hours. Without it, using the standard charger, charging times are very long and it takes around 4 hours with it powered off. If you're going to charge it while you're using the tablet at the same time, again with the standard charger, you're looking at about 7 hours. So very slow charge times. So really, it's very wise to invest in one of these. So just to quickly touch on gaming. So this title here is Modern Combat 5 and it has completely playable frame rates. It runs really nice and smooth and in fact a lot better than I thought it would. Also we'll test out just after this one Mortal Kombat X, and that one runs at a native screen resolution. A title that I thought on a retina screen would probably be running like a slideshow, but you'll see in a second that no. So you do notice that now and then there are a few little tiny micro stutters, but that happens on a lot of devices. But overall, it is very smooth at gaming. So that is actually playable frame rates. Now, I did not expect this game to be so smooth, but it's making, sometimes I would say it's making close to 60 frames per second. Definitely making 30 frames per second. So there was a little stutter there with that animation. But gaming performance in general, every title out there is at least playable. Right, so that's my review then. I've got to say that this is a very nice, well-rounded tablet, and I have enjoyed my time with it. Premium build, decent battery life, good performance. Okay, now and then you will see a tiny little micro stutter here and there when you do some very heavy multitasking, and in some games there's a slight little pause there, but I've seen that on other devices and it's really nothing serious enough to say no, don't get it, because every single game out there I have tested has had playable frame rates, and the Stylus also as well works really well. I do like this Stylus, and I found that the performance of it is good. It has a tiny little bit of input lag, but how many other Android devices out there support active palm rejection styluses? There's not a lot. Fingerprint reader works well, micro SD card support there. The only thing I wasn't happy with was the front and rear cameras. They do have very bad quality, and it's not up to the rest of the spec of the tablet here. And one other thing too, that the YouTube application, what's going on with selecting 1440p, it just bogs itself down, becomes almost unresponsive, and you're forced to have to kill YouTube. So that's something that needs to be addressed. If they can improve on that, improve the camera performance, you've got yourself here probably one of the best Android tablets for 2016. Thank you so much for watching this review. If you did like it, why not think about subscribing if you haven't already? And hopefully I will see you back with some more reviews up and coming very shortly.